So, Ewan, how was 2019?
Wow, it was an experience, let's put it that way. We were hit with what can only be described as an unprecedented level of uncertainty. Obviously, we expected one Brexit date at the end of March, which was then moved to the middle of April. And then when that didn't come around, it was moved to October. And then obviously we all know what happened from there. And then just to concrete it all, we then had a general election, which, for want of a better expression, gave everybody the excuse to hold on and wait and see what happened, see what was going to come of it, see what kind of certainty they would grasp from it. So it was an uncertain year, it was a difficult year. The stock levels that we had, so the number of units that we had to sell, was far reduced as people were waiting to see whether they could get a better price further down the line once things were sorted out. And our buyer levels were pretty consistent across the year. So there's still always been a desire for people to want to buy a property. The reason we had such a, I suppose, uncertain year is because people were waiting to see if they could get a better price, see what was going to happen with regards to their onward move.
Great. And what about since the election? How many sales have been agreed since then?
So my goodness, since the election, we've had a completely different opposite market to what we experienced before. In the fortnight from, well, the business fortnight we've seen since the election result came in, so that first week before Christmas, we agreed 14 sales in that last week of the year. And just to give you a little bit of colour on that, that's a week where usually people are very much in Christmas mode. People don't often buy properties in the last week of the year before Christmas. The most we've ever agreed as a company in that week in the lead up to Christmas is 5 by contrast. So to agree 14 sales that week before Christmas was, well, honestly astounding. We didn't expect it at all. And it hasn't been any sign of it slowing down since then. So we've seen, since the election result came in, we registered 1,322 buyers up until yesterday when we took that number down. To give you a little bit of a sort of an idea as to how that reflects to a normal year. In a full calendar year, we usually register somewhere in the region of about 5,000 buyers. So to see 1,300 register in what can only be, what's only 3.5, 4 weeks is astonishing. So there is a huge latent demand of buyers looking to get themselves on the property ladder. A huge number of people that have been waiting to see what happens, and now they've got some certainty to grasp onto. What we're seeing is people ready to commit, to buying their property now.
Wow, really busy.
Yeah, it's huge.
So apart from the Brexit certainty, what other things are sort of driving the market?
I think there's a number of factors. I think firstly, people have been renting for such a long time, and rental prices in London have gone up quite astonishingly in the last few years. And we're seeing, for example, to sort of give you an idea of why. So someone renting a 2-bedroom flat in Clapham, for example, is going to be spending somewhere in the region of £2,000 to £2,200 per month on renting that property. For the equivalent mortgage payment, for the average price of a property in that area, with money being so cheap to borrow, you're looking at probably somewhere in the region of about £1,400 to £1,500 a month for a mortgage payment. So it is significantly cheaper for someone to own their own property than it is to rent the same property, certainly in London.
And are there any bumps in the road for 2020 that you can see?
There is one huge bump in the road, which we see coming down the road. Obviously, there is a great deal of certainty that comes from the election result of December. There is a huge swathe of good feeling that's come off the back of that, and people thinking, well, at least we know where we're going now. However, what comes with that is that we have a definite date for Brexit, which will be at the end of January, and then we enter into that phase where they open the negotiations with the European Union about a trade deal, which we've already been told by the majority Conservative government that it will not be extended beyond the end of this year. So if we are in a position towards the end of this year where it doesn't look like a trade deal is going to be done, or if there is going to be some more bumps in the road, it may be that we start to see a little more Brexit uncertainty coming back into our marketplace. So we're not sure. It's a very difficult thing to predict. So us trying to tell you what's going to happen with prices over the course of this year is impossible. It's impossible for anyone to try and predict that. What we would say is, if it is that we are racing towards another uncertain moment towards the end of this year, what I can say is that right now is a perfect time to be exploring your options if you are looking to move, because the market is electric right now.
Wow, amazing. And just one for 2020, what good habit are you trying to adopt this year?
Wow, good question. I would say probably the thing that I am most guilty of is not being, I suppose, as mindful as I would like to be, and thinking about things in a mindful way. And that's something that I'm hoping to make the most of in 2020, and something that I'm looking to educate myself further in. I think that's a